the one that smacked Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration.
He starts walking around the interview room, and then he starts going. And then he walks around, and then he does it again.
Think about Foolio dying, cuz. That's sad. Man, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all boys in the street, y'all didn't leave the streets alone, man. All condone and like that. It's so funny, cause me, bro, like, we cool. Like, we was cool and me and him, like, we cool. And I was just, so funny, I was just talking to him. I'm like, bro, you gotta stop. Wait, bro, you know, love y'all here. Like, stop. Wait, bro. Like, you know,
The pool party start today at 5, 6 o'clock. If you already got the address, pull up, man. You got the address, pull up. If you need the address, DM me right now. The pool party start at 5, 6.
Welcome back to your daily dose of scandal and glamour. Let's spill the tea on today's hottest drama. One of the suspects in Julio's murder case just folded. On camera, Davian Murphy, one of the alleged shooters, made the dumbest mistake you could make in an interrogation room. After thinking he was alone, dude started reenacting the entire hit like he was in a movie, not realizing the camera was still recording every second. Murphy basically served himself up on a platter to prosecutors. Not only did he mime out the whole thing, but he even name-dropped other people involved. This wasn't just a slip-up, it was a full-blown confession caught in HD. Let's take it back real quick. The victim, Charles Andrew Jones II, better known in the streets as Julio. Julio had a solid name in the rap game, but on June 23, 2024, what was supposed to be his 26th birthday celebration ended in pure tragedy. He was ambushed and gunned down outside a Holiday Inn in Tampa, Florida. And let's be clear, this wasn't no random shootout or last-minute beef. This was a planned, organized hit by people who had allegedly been tracking Julio all night.
We can't do it for my birthday, man. Everybody coming up and fail. No counts, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We deep as hell.
They were moving like they were on a mission, not some amateurs playing around. But here's where it all crumbles. These dudes thought they were untouchable, like they were built for this. But their cockiness, that's exactly what ruined them. They thought they were too slick, too smart to get caught. And now they're looking at life behind bars or worse, the death penalty. And the wildest part, the proof is so strong even the toughest defense attorneys in the game are scratching their heads like, how do we fight this? This is one of those moments where the streets talk and the courtroom listens. The whole case really took a wild turn inside the interrogation room at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. That's where Davian Murphy, one of the 5 men charged in connection with Julio's murder, was finally cornered.
Foolio dying, cuz. That's sad. Twin, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all boys in the street, y'all didn't leave the streets alone, twin. All condone and like that. It's so funny, cause me, bro, like, we cool. Like, we was cool and me and him, like, we cool. And I was just, so funny, I was just talking to him. I'm like, bro, you gotta stop. Wait, bro, you know, love y'all here. Like, stop. Wait, bro. Like, you know, I with you.
By detectives. This 27-year-old, who's reportedly linked to the 1200 gang, had been ducking law enforcement for over 6 months before they finally snatched him up on January 6th, 2025, with the help of the U.S. Marshals. Now picture this, detectives are leaning in, coming at him with tough questions, trying to get him to crack. They were asking everything, where he was that night, who he was with, what went down, and who was really behind the ambush. Murphy was sitting there trying to keep his cool, acting like he was playing the game. He gave just enough to not look suspicious, but not enough to hang himself or his people. The pressure in that room, heavy, like thick as cold oatmeal. The detectives weren't letting up, and Murphy knew it. But then came the moment that completely flipped the script. During a break in the questioning, one of the detectives stepped out. Just like that, Murphy thought he had the room to himself. What he didn't know? The camera was still rolling, and it caught everything. Thinking he was alone, Murphy started acting out exactly what happened the night Julio was killed. Like it was a private rehearsal. No joke, he started mimicking movements, showing how it all went down. And just like that, he handed law enforcement the kind of footage you only see in crime shows. This one move turned him from a silent suspect into the main event. And now, he's got the entire city looking at him like he's the biggest clown in Jacksonville. Murphy didn't just slip up. He went full reckless in that interrogation room. And what he did had the entire courtroom in shock later on. During his bond hearing on January 16, 2025, detectives revealed that surveillance footage caught him straight up wilding, making shooting gestures, pretending to hold a rifle like he was reenacting the whole scene. Imagine that for a second. Here's a grown man, facing either life in prison or possibly the electric chair. And he's up in the room play acting like he's back on the streets.
I rock with Ace and them boys, you feel me? ATK, you feel me? I be in Jacksonville heavy. Ace had that money on his head, you know, Ace had them put that 10K up. Told me to slide, told me to smack fool, because you know he got tired of that running his mouth playing.
The man was acting like he was reliving the murder while knowing he's being investigated for it. The craziest part? The detective who saw the footage was so stunned by it, he actually stood up in court and physically demonstrated Murphy's movements to the judge and everyone in the room. No one could believe what they were seeing. This wasn't just nervous energy or some twitchy moment under pressure. This was a man who looked like he was proud of what he did, maybe even enjoying the memory. The prosecutors wasted no time pointing out how Murphy clearly thought the cameras were off, and that made what he did even worse. They said this wasn't just a dumb move, it was a full-blown confession without words. And to understand just how reckless and damaging this moment was, you gotta remember what Julio's murder meant to the city. It wasn't just another case, it was a high-profile killing that rocked Jacksonville to its core. This wasn't some heat-of-the-moment drama or a random fight gone wrong. This was the violent climax of a decade-long gang war that had already stacked up a serious body count. Foolio, who was fully tied into the 6-block side of the KTA Kill Them All crew, had been in the middle of a ruthless feud with rival gangs like ATK, the Aces, Top Killers, and 1200 from out east. And don't get it twisted, this wasn't just about dissing each other on tracks. This was real street business. The beef spilled way past music. There were diss songs, online taunts, wild disrespect on social media, but worst of all, there was real bloodshed. Families shattered, lives lost, and entire neighborhoods living in fear. On the night of June 23, 2024, Foolio was just out celebrating his birthday. He hit up multiple spots across Tampa, trying to enjoy the night. But what he didn't know? His enemies were lurking in the shadows, tracking his every step. After leaving a pool party, he made stops at Teaser's Gentlemen's Club, then Truth 18 nightclub, and finally headed to the Home 2 Suites Hotel. That's where the trap was set. That's where it all went down. The heartbreaking part? Foolio unknowingly gave away his entire route. He was posting live on social media all night, location after location, moment after moment. And that gave the shooters exactly what they needed to close in. He didn't see it coming, and by the time he did, it was already too late. By posting in real time, Foolio was basically handing over a Jeep's map straight to his killers. Without even knowing it, the hit itself, it wasn't sloppy. It looked like something out of a tactical operation. 3 shooters pulled up with high-powered rifles, and when the smoke cleared, investigators found 31 shell casings scattered across the scene. That's not some reckless drive-by. That's a coordinated strike. This was clearly a planned-out ambush that took teamwork, precision, and cold-blooded execution. These weren't just some random dudes looking for clout. This crew came ready, and they weren't playing. 5 people were eventually arrested for Julio's murder. 18-year-old Sean Gathright, 21-year-olds Isaiah Chance and Alicia Andrews, 30-year-old Rashad Murphy, and 27-year-old Davian Murphy. Every single one of them is allegedly tied to rival gangs that had been in beef with Julio's side for years. And the case against them? It's already stacked with evidence. Surveillance video showed them tailing Foolio all night, shadowing his every move across Tampa. Phone records revealed incriminating conversations, including texts from Rashad Murphy throwing shots with a disrespectful nickname, Don Julio, clearly mocking the victim. To make it even worse, Rashad had booked an Airbnb in Tampa the day before the shooting, like they were setting up shop just to get the job done. But nothing blew the case wide open, like what Davian Murphy did. His bizarre little performance in the interrogation room became the turning point. You've got a man accused of murder literally acting out the crime on camera. The footage became such a key piece of the case, it dominated his bond hearing, which lasted 5 hours before the judge dropped the hammer and denied his bond. That moment alone might have sealed his fate. The prosecution had no trouble convincing the court that Davian Murphy was way too dangerous to be back out on the streets. And let's be real, his little performance in the interrogation room, that just made it even easier to keep him locked up. They laid it all out. If convicted, 3 of the suspects, Isaiah Chance, Sean Gathright, and Rashad Murphy, are facing the death penalty. Alicia Andrews, who's currently pregnant, isn't looking at capital punishment, but she's still deep in the case. As for Davian Murphy, with everything stacked against him, the footage, the evidence, and his alleged role as one of the shooters, he's likely heading down the same path, facing a possible death sentence too. Now the court battles are heating up. Alicia Andrews was originally set to stand trial in early January 2025, but things got delayed when her lawyer stepped away from the case. Her new trial date is tentatively scheduled for sometime around August 2025 or even later. The rest of the crew, including Davian Murphy, are looking at trial dates starting in April 2026. But this case is bigger than just one night. It's tied to a 10-year street war that's turned parts of Jacksonville into a battleground. To fully grasp how wild that interrogation room moment was, you have to look at the violent world that built up to it. Julio's murder wasn't some isolated event. It was the end result of a decade of retaliation, gang politics, and bloodshed that left dozens of bodies and broken families scattered across Jacksonville. This is the kind of story that shows how deep it gets. Young men growing up in neighborhoods caught in never-ending beefs, where revenge becomes a way of life. Charles Andrew Jones II, known on the streets as Julio Foolio, was born June 21, 1998, and came up in Jacksonville's tough Montcrief area. His early years were filled with loss, pain, and survival, experiences that shaped not only his music, but also pulled him into the gang life that eventually cost him everything. Julio's life took a dark turn early. His dad was murdered in a shooting back in 2011. Julio was just 13 at the time. That loss hit him hard and left a deep scar that never really healed. From that point on, he got pulled deeper into the street life that surrounded him. He eventually linked up with the 6 Block crew under KTA, short for Kill Them All, a gang based mainly in Jacksonville's RE area, known for being heavily involved in all kinds of illegal activity. Julio's music reflected that world. His bars were raw, honest, and filled with stories of survival, violence, and life in the trenches. He didn't sugarcoat anything. His lyrics were basically diary entries from the battlefield. But on the other side of this bloody rivalry was another young man whose life had also been carved out by pain and violence. Anta Tyrone Bullard, better known in the rap game as Youngeen Ace. Ace was born on February 12, 1998, in East Chicago, Indiana, but later moved to Jacksonville with his mom and 11 siblings. He came up in rough conditions too, with very little stability. Just like Julio, Ace lost his father in 2011. That same year, that same pain. Those back-to-back tragedies put both of them on paths that would collide in the deadliest ways. Ace got affiliated with ATK, short for Ace's Top Killers, a crew that bore his name and stood as direct rivals to Julio's 6 Block team. From that moment on, Jacksonville became the backdrop to a violent back and forth between two sides that refused to back down. This wasn't just music beef. It turned into years of shootings, setups, betrayals, and retaliation that sucked in dozens of other young men, some who'd never even touched a mic. What started as two kids trying to survive eventually exploded into a war neither side could walk away from. The deadly beef that would eventually lead to Julio's murder started heating up back in 2017 when his 18-year-old cousin, Zion Malik Brown, was gunned down. That killing is believed to be the spark that lit the fuse, setting off a long, bloody war between rival gangs that would spiral out of control over the next several years. Things hit a horrifying high point on June 5, 2018, during a broad daylight shooting at St. John's Town Center. That ambush left Youngeen Ace wounded and claimed the lives of 3 people, his brother Trayvon Bullard and 2 close friends, Royale Devin Smith Jr. and Jacoby Desha Groover. Reports tied the shooting back to 6 Block, marking a major escalation in an already deadly feud. But what happened afterward made it clear just how twisted and public this war had become. Julio went online and mocked the dead, posting content that included a t-shirt reading, "Rest in 23, taking a shot at Royale Devin Smith Jr. That one post poured gas on an already raging fire, and from there, the violence got even uglier. The streets weren't just unsafe, they were a war zone. In January 2019, another major blow came when Willie Addison, better known as Boss Goon, was shot and killed outside Paradise Gentlemen's Club. That hit was also believed to be tied to the ongoing gang conflict. Later that same year, more blood was spilled. 2 young men linked to KTA, Lil Buck, Charles Quentin McCormick Jr., and Bibby, Adrian Denard Gaynor Jr., were both murdered in separate incidents that many say were direct retaliation hits from ATK. This wasn't just tit for tat anymore. It was a full-blown war playing out across Jacksonville. Bodies kept dropping, families kept mourning, and both sides kept going deeper into a cycle that seemed impossible to break. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.